Next question, what do you mean by optimizing workbook performance? When we mention performance, we mean the speed with which you can work in Tableau. It might mean the speed of data analysis, or it could refer to the speed of loading views, or it could refer to the dashboards that you access on your desktop from Tableau server. Next question, when should you consider Tableau workbook performance? If you work with hundreds of millions of records, in that case, designing an efficient workbook is critically important to the speed at which you can work. Anything less than hundreds of millions of records, you should not worry about workbook performance. Next question. Which are the different events that Tableau creates to analyze and troubleshoot performance? There are total 8 types or 8 events that Tableau creates to check the performance parameters. First one is query execution, then compiling query, then geocoding, then connections to the data sources, then layout computations, then extract generation, then blending data, and last one is server rendering, and this is applicable for Tableau server only. Next question. How can you create a performance recording in Tableau desktop? For that you need to click on help, then click on settings and performance, and then start performance recording. Next question. What do you mean by performance recording workbook? If you wondering if the performance is taking a little longer than it should, to find out what's slowing it down, you can use a performance recording to evaluate your workbook. There is this step-by-step method by which the Tableau software interact with the workbook. The performance recording feature in Tableau records performance information about key events. As you interact with the workbook, this is nothing but performance recording workbook. Next question. In the case of performance recording workbook, which main dashboard gets created? There are 2 dashboards gets created. First one is performance summary dashboard and second one is detailed view dashboard. The performance summary dashboard provides high level overview of the most time consuming events. These events are like timelines, events and queries. While the detailed view dashboard provides a lot more detailed information like depths, exclusive CPU, inclusive CPU and lapsed time views. Next question. In case of performance recording workbook, what is unit of bottom axis? One word answer for this question is seconds. The bottom axis shows lapsed time since Tableau started in seconds. Next question. With properly connected data source and absolutely fine database server, which one among the following takes the highest time to execute? The options are geocoding, computing layout, executing query and generating extract. The answer for this question is generating extract. Then how to avoid this time consumption? Very simple solution to speed up the extract generation or is to consider only importing some data from the original data source or required data from the original data source. Next question. If layouts are taking too long, what is simple remedy? Simplifying the layout is the most effective remedy to avoid long time consumption. Next question. What major problems you may face due to slow connections or network issues or issues with the database server? Due to slow connections or network issues or issues with the database server, the time taken to connect to data source will be more. Next question. What does long compile query time indicates? Long compile query time means the amount of time spent by Tableau in generation of the queries. Long compile query times indicate that the queries generated are complex And why does this long compile query time is there? This complexity may be due to too many filters, complex calculations, or due to complex workbooks. Some of the examples are lengthy calculations, level of detail calculations or LODs, or nested calculations. And remedy for this problem is try simplifying the workbook using action filters or moving calculations to the underlying database. Next question. Consider this scenario. Executing query with live connection is taking much time. This problem occurs since underlying data source is not optimized for Tableau. You can partially solve this problem with extracts. That means instead of live connections, make an extract of the data. To solve this data structure problem, consult your database server documentation. Next question. Which driver do you prefer for data connection and why? The answer for this question is native database driver. You should consider native database driver. When you connect to data with native database drivers, you will often experience significantly faster performance than when you connect to the same data with ODBC drivers. Next question. What precautions should you take while working with native database driver? Or what are the chances that the native database driver may fail? When you use native database drivers, make sure that you are using the latest version, else data connection may fail or slow down. Next question. What do you mean by query acceleration cache? Working off an extract is nothing but query acceleration cache. This issue is related to scenario where query execution is slow. The extract data format is designed to provide a fast response to analytical queries. In this case, this working of an extract is nothing but query acceleration cache. Next question. What are some characteristics of working with extracts instead of live data? A Tableau data extract is compressed snapshot of data stored locally. Some data loaded into memory as required to render a Tableau visualization. Extracts are designed to use all parts of your computer's memory optimally. Then, with the use of an extract, performance of a dashboard or visualization is improved. And last one, the extract data format is designed to provide a fast response to analytical queries. Next question. What are some of the data connection tips? First one, test as close to data as possible. Connect with native database drivers. Work with extracts instead of live data connection. Reduce the amount of data. Then hide unused field, then optimize extracts, then use extracts for file based data, and last one is avoid using custom SQL. Next question. What do you mean by raw performance of the data? Raw performance of the data is the process in which install Tableau desktop on the Tableau desktop on same computer where data resides. Run some queries on that data. This will help you to understand the raw performance of the query in the data source. How can you check that environmental factors such as slow name resolution or proxy server are slowing down the performance? Or in simplified words, or in simple words, you can say that whether it's slow name resolution or the proxy server is the culprit for the performance. If we are using DNS name, then this problem may occur. By using the local host name instead of DNS name, the issue may get resolved. For the data, if we use local host, will help to determine if environmental factors such as slow name resolution or proxy server are slowing down the performance. Next question. Hidden files are included when you create an extract. This is false. Hidden files are not included when you create an extract. Next question. How can you hide all unused fields? Or what will you do to hide unnecessary fields before you can create an extract? The answer for this question is by using hide all unused fields. By choosing this option to hide unnecessary fields before you create an extract. Next question. Why should you hide unused fields of the data? You should hide unused fields of the data since this makes the extract smaller and which in turn improves the performance. Next question. What do you mean by materialized calculation extract? This is one of the interesting concept. Certain calculations are computed in advance and their values are stored in the extract itself. Depending on the complexity of the calculations used in your extract, this can potentially speed up the future queries. Remember the word materialized calculation extract. Next question. How to materialized calculation with respect to extract? Select the data source on the data menu, then select extract, then click on compute calculations now. In this way you can materialize calculations. Next question. What will you do if Tableau discovers that the file is too large to perform well? There is very simple solution. If the file is too big to perform well, then you will create a file extract for some data, or you can use extract only. Next question. Which type of connection should one prefer for data having text files such as CSV, Microsoft Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Access files, as well as statistical files like SPSS, SAS and R? The simple answer for this question is extract connection. Yes, the answer is extract connection because this makes query perform much faster and also results in a much smaller file to store data values. Next question. If we compare custom SQL and the queries created by Tableau, which one runs slower? In most cases, custom SQL runs slower than the queries created by the Tableau. Next question. In most cases, custom SQL runs slower than queries created by Tableau. Why? Because Tableau cannot perform query optimization or custom SQL. I repeat, Tableau cannot perform query optimizations on custom SQL queries. Next question. What do you mean by referential integrity? Or why should one consider referential integrity? When you join multiple tables in a data source, Tableau uses functionality. This queries only the relevant tables instead of all tables defined in your join, and this only occurs when referential integrity is defined between tables. Next question. What are the drawbacks of using Tableau join? To process on the database server, Tableau uses resources, and this is time consuming. What is time consuming? I say it again. Process the database server, the Tableau uses resources, and this resources usage is time consuming. Next question. What do you understand by join queuing? Or what is relation between join queuing and referential integrity? Like previous question, when you join multiple tables in a data source, Tableau uses functionality that is generally invisible to the user called join queuing. Join queuing queries only the relevant table instead of all tables defined in your join. Join queuing only occurs when referential integrity is defined between the tables. Otherwise, join queuing is not there, or join queuing may not be present there. Next question. Can you restrict the creation of temporary table in Tableau? Or why is temporary table created in Tableau? Yes, we can restrict the creation of temporary table in a Tableau, but if the creation of temporary table in the database is restricted, the overall performance of a workbook and views isn't as fast as it could be. Next question. Explain temp tables. Tableau creates temporary tables to help improve performance and add functionality. The temp tables temporarily hold information specific to a connection. Does your database grant users permission to create and drop temporary tables? The environment should have sufficient spool space for the queries being run. Here, the meaning of spool is magnetic tape or physically free space. If the creation of temp table in the database is restricted, the overall performance of workbook and view isn't as fast as it could be. Next question. Remember this number. You can officially store 2 gigabytes, approximately 1 to 2 million rows of data in an Access database, but it performs purely well beyond this limit. It performs poorly well beyond this limit, means the maximum capacity of Access database is 2 GB. Next question. Why should we consider creating indexes for table and how to index one? Index the table in your relational database. To successfully index your dataset, identify the fields that you frequently filter on and add them to the index. If you have a field that you use as a context filter, consider setting it as your primary index. Next question. Database management system environments have management tool that look at the query and recommend indexes that would help. This indexes recommendation is managed by database management system, not by Tableau. Next question. How does breakup your data helps you? Breakup your data, it helps to improve performance. You can partition a large database table into multiple smaller tables. We call it as a cluster of access tables, and these addresses to specific subsets of your data. Next question. What things you should consider while data is at the database level? Number 1. Enable support for referential integrity. Number 2. Make sure database permissions support creating temporary tables. Third one, create indexes for tables. Fourth one, break up your data. And last one, use a database server. These 5 things you should consider while data is at the database level. Next question. Should one relate or join or blend the data? Or one should relate the data, join the data, or blend the data? One word answer for this question is relate. Relating the data is best practice, and you should avoid data blending, like data blending of dimensions. Next question. How can one decide upon relate or join or blend the data? Or whether we should relate or join or blend data is decided by whether the data or where the data is coming from, the number of connections, and the number of records you have. If the workbook uses multiple tables from the same database, relating or joining the tables can improve performance and filtering control. Next question. For great performance, what is the best possible solution when the number of tables are more? Limit data sources to the fewest number of tables possible. In cases where you need access to many tables in a workbook, create a separate data source which is tailored to each analytical scenario individually. Next question. Which is the slowest visualization type? A crosstab. A crosstab of visualization should be the least priority or the last option to choose. This is one of the slowest visualization type. Next question. How can you check the data before dragging into a crosstab? We can check data before using the data by tab or cross tab, the describe field option. With this option, we can view a description of a data type and a sample of a dimension member values as reported by the data source. Next question. When you place a field on a shelf, Tableau generates the view by automatically querying the data. How to avoid that? This seems to be very complicated questions, but the answer is pretty simple. The answer is by turning off automatic update. By turning off automatic update, you can avoid unwanted view generation. Next question. What do you understand by performance warning dialog box? Performance warning dialog box is Tableau displays a performance warning dialog box when you attempt to place a large dimension. What are the points needs to be considered when you build designed for performance view? There are 4 points that you need to consider when you design for performance view. Use the describe field to get to know your data. Then keep workbook a reasonable size. Second last is the turn off automatic updates, and last one is look for warnings. These things you should consider while designing for a performance view. Next question. What are initial styles to filter your data? Again, there are 4 styles to filter your data. First one, you can create a filter on a data source, or you can implement a filter when you create an extract. Third one is you can create dimensions, measures and dates, and last one is you can create a context filter. In this way, there are 4 styles to filter your data. Next question. Why one should use keep only filters instead of exclude filters? One should use keep only filters because they run more slowly. What happens with exclude filters is they load all the data for the dimension and they excludes. That is really time consuming. Next question. View first then specify filter, or filter first then view? Filter first and then view. Correct sequence of operation is specify the filters first, then drag fields onto the view. Next question. Why one should specify the filters first and then view? In that way, when you run the update or turn on the automatic updates, the filters are evaluated first. That is why we should consider specifying the filter first then view. Next question. Why context filter is an independent filter, or which filter is called as independent filter? The answer, context filter is called as independent filter. Here is one more unique statement. Cause any other filters you set process only the data that passes through the context filter. That is why the context filter is called as independent filter. I repeat, any other filters you set process only the data which passes through the context filter. Next question. When one needs to create calculated fields, when your data doesn't provide all the information you need and that is needed to answer your questions, in that case you need to create a calculated field. Tell about different calculation types in Tableau. First type is basic and aggregate calculations. Second is table calculation. Third is level of details expression. And these are different calculation types used in Tableau. Next question. Integers and booleans or strings data types, which one is to be used for fast calculations? This is very interesting question. Integers and booleans are generally much faster than strings. That is, numerical calculations are much faster than strings. Next question. What do you mean by display as? Display as is the feature of parameters. With this, we can show text labels but use underlying integer values for the calculation logic. Numerical calculations are much faster than string calculations. Next question. When you can use dateParse function? I hope you already know different date functions, but here is a catch. When you should use dateParse function? If your data supports it. This function is available for non-legacy Microsoft Excel and text file connections, MySQL, Oracle, PostgreSQL and Tableau data extract file sources. Only in that case you can use dateParse function, otherwise you cannot use the dateParse function. Next question. Which strings are preferred for data fields? ISO fields are preferred for the data fields because they are not local specific. Next question. When working with complex logic statements, which one performs faster? Else if or else space if? The answer is else if is faster than else if. Next question. Why does else if is faster than else if? Else if is called as nested if. A nested if computes a second if statement rather than being computed as a part of the first. That is why else if is faster than else space if. Next question. What is drawback of using disaggregated data than the aggregated one? As far as possible, you should use aggregated data, because with disaggregated data, you might be trying to view many rows of data at once, and which is not recommended at all. How can you aggregate measures? To aggregate measures, you should select analysis or click on the analysis and then select aggregate measures. Next question. What one can consider for efficient calculations? There are 6 considerations. First one, booleans and integers are faster. Use parameters for conditional calculations. Convert data fields. Use else if logic statement. Aggregate measures and use calculation tips. Next question. When users zoom in on a visualization with a large number of marks, does Tableau view more number of detail? When you zoom it, only changes the view of the data, not the total number of marks. Since Tableau doesn't filter out the marks, you can't see. Whatever on the screen, that just get magnified. Next question. Which is a best practice, to publish workbooks and data source separately or to publish them together as packaged workbook? Not considering typical conditions or in general, it is a best practice to publish workbooks, that is .twb files, and data source separately rather than publishing them together as a packaged workbooks or TWBX files. One of the reason is, if we consider publishing, .twbx takes more time. That is why we do not consider .twbx. Instead we consider .twb files and separating the data source and the TWB files. Next question. How one can reduce upload times to Tableau server? One can reduce the upload time to Tableau server by avoid publishing packaged workbooks and by making the extracts smaller. Next question. Why it is advisable to turn off automatic updates to boost performance? When you place a field on a shelf, Tableau generates the resulting view. This view is generated by querying the data source. When you create a complex data view that involves many fields, these queries can be time consuming. To improve performance, you can turn off automatic updates while composing a view and then query the data source when you are done. Next question. Shortcut keys for turning off and on automatic updates are F10 and F9. Next question. What happens to filters when automatic updates are kept off, or why is it recommended to keep off automatic updates? When you change a filter, even when you turn off automatic updates for worksheets, Tableau continues to query the data source to update the view. When you work with large data set, this continuous query action can degrade performance. So Tableau also gives you an option to pause automatic updates for filters. If you pause automatic updates for filters, you can make as many changes as you need without having to wait for Tableau to upload the filter each time. Next question. How automatic updates on or off works with Tableau server? When dashboards or stories are published to Tableau server, automatic updates affect either none of the views or all of the views. Since you can have a dashboard where some views update automatically and others don't. Similarly, you can have a story where some story points update automatically and others don't. In this way, the Tableau server automatic updates on or off works. Next question. What precaution you need to take while sharing workbooks and bookmarks with your coworker? Or you can share workbooks and bookmarks with your coworker provided they can access the relevant data sources that the workbook uses. If your coworker does not have access to the data source, you can save a packaged workbook. Next question. Custom fields such as binned measures, calculated fields, groups and sets are saved with workbooks and bookmarks. That is true. Custom fields such as binned measures, calculated fields, groups and sets are saved with workbooks and bookmarks. Next question. Tableau desktop automatically saves your work for every few minutes. That is again true. Just like Office or any other software, Tableau desktop automatically saves your work for you after every few minutes. You can set that. Next question. Tableau desktop automatically saves your work for every few minutes. This mode is by default enabled or disabled. This feature is enabled by default, but you can turn it off from the toolbars under Help, Settings and Performance and by clicking Enable Autosave. Next question. How does file recovery system works in Tableau? If Tableau crashes, a recovered version of the workbook is automatically created with the .twbr extension. Remember .twbr. R is for recovery. Then saved in the same location as the original file, typically in your My Tableau repository workbook folder. When you reopen Tableau, a recovery dialog box shows a list of recovered files that you can select and open to continue in your flow. Next question. For automatically save a workbook, how does new workbooks are saved? Or what is nomenclature for file name of automatically saved workbook? For automatically saved workbook, new workbooks are saved with the name of book 1 plus a numeric ID. Book 1 plus a numeric ID, that is nomenclature for a file name of automatically saved workbook. Next question. By default, Tableau saves the file with which extension? By default, Tableau saves the file with .twb extension. Next question. True or false? You cannot save Tableau workbooks to any directory you choose. That is false. You can save Tableau workbook to any directory you choose. There is no restriction that the file should be saved to particular or the default folder only. Next question. Which among following cannot be included into Tableau file names? All of the options you cannot use, or these symbols you cannot use in the Tableau file names. Next question, that is again true or false. Bookmarked worksheets auto update automatically. That is false. It adds the worksheet to your workbook in the state that it was in when it was bookmarked. It will never update or change automatically. You need to change it manually. Next question. What is the drawback associated with bookmarks that are not stored in the Tableau repository? It is very important that the bookmarks should have their path in the Tableau repository only. Bookmarks that are not stored in the Tableau repository do not appear in the bookmark menu. This is one of an interesting fact of Tableau, that Tableau repository is only place from where the bookmarks are reflected. Next question. Created bookmark file are saved in Tableau with which extension? The extension is .tbm. .tbm, like BM stands for bookmarks. Next question. How many rows does data grid display of the data contained in the Tableau data source? The data grid displays first 1000 rows of the data contained in a Tableau data source. Next question. Next question. What is the primary condition for saving a workbook on Tableau Public? You can save a workbook only if you have created a visualization that contains at least one field. The save option will not be available if there is no field in the visualization. Next question. If I am working with .twbx, I can get back and revert the last saved workbook. That is false. The revert command is only available for Tableau workbooks .twb that do not have connections to extract data sources, and as you are aware that twbx have data sources. Next question. If you are using Tableau desktop on Mac operating system, a .bmp image is copied to the clipboard. That is false. This is not a typical Tableau question, as this is an OS related question. If you are using Tableau desktop on Mac OS, a TIFF, that is tagged image file format, is copied to the clipboard. On Windows, a bitmap or .bmp image is copied. Next question. What happens when one tries to export a workbook image file in EMF format? EMF format substitutes Tableau fonts with a similar font. Next question. What are some characteristics of exporting worksheets as a PowerPoint presentation? When you export a workbook to Microsoft PowerPoint format, selected sheets become static PNG image or separate slides. If you export a story sheets, all story points are exported as separate slide. Any filter currently applied in Tableau are reflected in an exported presentation also. Next question. What do you understand by optimizing a dashboard for PowerPoint? Sometimes a dashboard used in a PowerPoint does not fit the display. In that case, we shall use a different resolution, that is 1600 by 900 instead of 1920 by 1080. To optimize a dashboard for a PowerPoint, on the dashboard tab choose size, then select fix size, then click on PowerPoint 1600 by 900, that is the resolution. Next question. After you create a view, you cannot export just the data used to generate that view, that is false. After you create a view, you can also export just the data used for generate that view. You don't need to send all other things with that. Only the data used for generation of that view can be exported. Next question. When you export your view as a cross tab, Tableau automatically opens the Excel application and pastes a cross tab version of a current view into a new Excel workbook. Yes, that is true. When you export your view as a cross tab, Tableau automatically opens the Excel application and pastes a cross tab version of the current view into a new Excel workbook. Next question. Copying a cross tab is valid for aggregate views only. That is true. It cannot be used on disaggregated views of data because a cross tab is by definition an aggregated view of a data. Next question. Copying a cross tab when the view contains the continuous dimensions such as a continuous date and time is most easy. That is false. You cannot copy a cross tab if the view contains continuous dimensions such as continuous date and time. Next question. What are the performance issues associated with exporting your view as a cross tab or as a Excel? As it's simultaneously copying and formatting the data, and performance of the export can be affected. If the view are exporting continuous data and it contains lot of data, a dialog box opens asking whether you want to export the formatting or not. Next question. Copying a cross tab is restricted with a few general conditions. Yes, that is true. As of now, there are 3 conditions. You must copy all records in the view. You cannot copy a subset of records. This option is valid for aggregated views only. It cannot be used on disaggregated views. You cannot copy a cross tab if the view contains continuous dimensions such as continuous date and times. Next question. You can share or reuse the data in its new form by, there are 3 conditions by which you can share or reuse the data in the new form by. First one is export your data to .csv file, then extract your data, then export the data source. In these 3 ways you can share or reuse the data. Next question. In how many ways you can export your data in the data source to a .csv file in Tableau, and which are those? You can export your data from the data source page and from the view. And how to do that? Well, you need to go to data source page, then select data, export data to CSV to export all data in your data source to .csv file. And for the view, click on the sheet tab, drag a file to the columns or rows shelf, click the view data icon in the data pane and then click on export all button. Next question. Why one should consider to export the file to .csv format? Because the .csv format is one of the most simple structured formats for data. It's supported by a wide range of tools, databases and programming languages. Exporting your data in the Tableau data source using this format creates an independent data set and can be conveniently and flexible way to share your data with others. This can be convenient and flexible way to share your data with others. Next question. What do you mean by extract your data and export data source? Or what is difference between extracting the data and exporting the data source? Creation of an extract is nothing but creation of a .hyper file in which an extract function as an independent data set which can be used to connect directly from Tableau, while exporting data source is creating a TDS file. After you connect to data, you can export and save your data source as Tableau data source, or Tableau data source is nothing but .tds file. Saving the data source creates a shortcut to your remote data and allows you to avoid having to create new connections to specific data each time. Next question. Which are the various methods of exporting the data used to generate the view? Export data in the view to Microsoft Access or .csv, export crosstab of data in the view to Excel, copy data in the view to clipboard, copy crosstab of data in the view to clipboard. By these we can export the data used to generate the view.
Next question. Individual sheet, dashboards and stories can be copied and pasted between workbook in web authoring. That is false. Individual sheet, dashboards and stories can be copied and pasted between workbooks in Tableau desktop, although not in web authoring. Next question. When you copy, save or export selected sheets, what all gets copied and saved with selected sheets? There are total 6 items that get copied or saved with selected sheets. These are the data source, calculations, parameters, sets, custom shapes and colors, and all hidden sheets and stories. Next question. Custom colors and shapes will be available in the copied or imported sheets and it will be added to your Tableau repository. That is false. Custom colors and shapes will be available in the copied or imported sheets but will not be added to your Tableau repository. And if you would like this to be used for other workbook, you should refer to create custom colors palettes and use custom shapes. Next question. How Tableau smartly handles duplicate items while copying information between the workbooks? If Tableau encounters an exact duplicate item in data pane, such as a calculation, it does not paste or import that item into the destination workbook. However, if an item in the data pane has the same name but is defined differently, then Tableau imports and renames it. Tableau also pastes or imports sheets and data sources with duplicate names, whether only the name is identical or their names and contents are identical, and it renames the newer copy. Next question. You cannot apply different page setup options for each worksheet in a workbook. That is false. You can easily apply different page setups options on each worksheet in a workbook and with unique page orientation too. Next question. The page setup options are typically for worksheets or workbooks. False. The page setup options are available for individual sheet, not for worksheet or workbook. Next question. If you do not have Tableau online server, if you do not have Tableau online or Tableau server, how can you share the analysis? One can share analysis on Tableau Public, a free cloud service. As the name suggests, views published to the Tableau Public are publicly accessible, and that is one of the major drawback of Tableau Public. Next question. People connecting to the data from Tableau desktop do not need to install and maintain database drivers on their own computers. That is true. Only when you publish and connect to data on the server, then people connecting to the data from Tableau desktop do not need to install and maintain the database drivers on their own computers. Next question. What do you mean by local resources in Tableau? Local resources are background images and custom geocodings. If a user is in a location that the server or other Tableau users cannot access, that is nothing but a local resource in Tableau. Next question. During publishing your work, what you need to answer about the data connection? There are three connections while you publish your work. Will you publish with a live connection or to the data, or will you create an extract? Do you want to publish the workbook's connections as separate standalone Tableau data source or embed the data into your workbook? Do you want the workbook to show the data when other users open the workbook, or do you want to require them to provide database credentials that is nothing but login credentials? These all are the answers you need to during publishing your work you need to answer about the data connections. Next question. For a connection to a Tableau data source, what is the simple way of data authorization? The simple way of data authorization is to keep the existing connection and embed the password. That is the simplest possible way. Next question. Embedding data into workbooks or publishing data separately and managing it on server, which one considered a best practice? Publishing data separately and managing it on a server is considered best practice. Next question. Changes takes a long time to display when working on Tableau desktop or on the server. If changes takes long time to display while you are working in a Tableau desktop, then it will take more or longer time to display on the server, meaning server takes more time. Next question. What do you understand by add search tags while publishing the workbook? It's like SEO and keywords. Tags help user to find related workbook when they browse the server. Separate tags using a comma or space. To add a tag that contains a space, put the tag in quotation mark. Next question. Hiding sheets is one of the simplest security measures. No, that is wrong. That is false. Hiding sheet is not a security measure. Anyone who has the download or web save as capability can access the hidden sheets. Other editing permissions can also allow access to the hidden sheets. That is why hiding sheets is not a security measure. Next question. What do you mean by workbook level performance and view level performance? Note that how sheet tabs are configured impact permissions. When a workbook shows sheets as a tabs, workbook level permission rules are applied to the sheets. When the sheets are not shown as a tab, view level permissions exist and it must be set independently. Next question. How to highlight a particular portion of a view when others open the workbook? There is an option called as show selections. Select this to highlight a particular portion of a view when others open the workbook. Next question, how to include the information that isn't available to the server for other users. If you view certain information that isn't available to the server or other users, you can use the include external files option when you publish. With this option, you can include an Excel, CSV or other data source file local to your computer. Next question, what do you understand from this? This is an example of include external files. If you are publishing to Tableau server and the data is on map drive, you can select the include external files when you publish, and you can change the connection information so that the workbook reference the UNC path to the data. Next question, if you are publishing to Tableau online and the workbook connects to on-premise data, then how to include external files? Case 1, check if all the connections in the data source are supported by Tableau Bridge and use the Tableau Bridge. Case 2, if one of the connections in the data source is not supported by Tableau Bridge, you will need to select the include external files checkbox so that Tableau Online can refresh the data that Tableau can connect to it directly. The file based data cannot refresh and the data will remain static in this case. Next question, what is the use of Tableau Bridge? Tableau Bridge is a client software. This runs on a machine in your network. We use Tableau Bridge to keep Tableau data online, or we use Tableau Bridge to keep Tableau online data fresh. The client works with Tableau Online, which Tableau Online can't reach directly. Next question, you cannot downgrade workbooks for people using older versions of Tableau product. False. You can downgrade workbooks to share them with people using older versions of Tableau product. There are some limitations of using older versions. Next question, what are some limitations to downgrade workbooks to earlier versions of Tableau products? When you downgrade to an older versions, any features or functionality that aren't available in that versions are removed for compatibility. Any calculated fields will have to be manually corrected or removed upon downgrading. Next question, how to downgrade the file to an earlier version of Tableau? To downgrade the file to an earlier version of Tableau, you will need to click on File and Export as. In this way, you can downgrade the file version to earlier versions of Tableau. Next question, both file or workbook data sources are downgraded during publishing. That is false. Data sources are not downgraded during publishing, only file can be downgraded. Next question, what happens when you are using a newer versions of Tableau desktop and you want to publish the workbook to an older versions of Tableau server? The workbook will be downgraded to the older versions of Tableau server only. Next question, what happens when you later open the downgraded workbook in the newer version of Tableau desktop? When you later open the downgraded workbook in a newer version of Tableau desktop, the upgraded version is opened without any missing content. Next question, where can you check the Tableau version? You can check the Tableau version by clicking on Help About Tableau from the top menu. Next question, a Tableau data source consists of what? An extract, the data connection information that describes what data you want to bring into Tableau for analysis, information about how to access or refresh the data, the path to an original Excel file, embedded credentials or authentication access tokens for accessing the data directly. Alternatively, no credentials so that Users are prompted to enter them when they want to access the data. All this information is consisted, or a data source consists of this much information. Next question. What is the primary role of a person working as a data steward? A data steward is the one who creates and publishes the data sources for the Tableau community, which meets your organization's data requirement. What is the primary role of a person working as a site administrator? A site administrator is the one who manages published contents, extract, refresh, and permissions on the server you publish to. Next question. Google Analytics, Salesforce.com, Oracle, OData, and some ODBC data sources only work with extract. That is true. As of now, these cloud hosted data sources always require extracts, or in other words, web data connectors or data sources always require extracts. Next question. The extracts can be easier and faster to work with than connecting live. That is true. In cases where you can use a live connection or an extract that you refresh on a schedule, you might want to experiment with other options to see which works better for you. But in general, it can be easier and faster to work. Next question. What do you need to do to publish a web data connector data source on Tableau server? To publish a web data connector data source on a Tableau, you need to import the web data connector to the same server. Next question. Permissions are different from access to the data source. That is true. Accessing some data types requires signing in using a database name and password, or embedding database credential into the connections. That is why permissions are different from access to the data source. Next question. For which project type you won't be able to modify the permissions to data access once the permissions have been set? If you are publishing to a locked project, you won't be able to modify the permissions. Next question. In case of setting the permissions when it might conflict with the guidelines. In case of setting the permission when it might conflict with the guidelines your administrator has set and have unintended consequences. When you change permissions in the publishing dialog box, you are setting unique permissions rules for the contents you are publishing. In that case, you may have unintended consequences. Next question. If you set permissions during publishing, the person who manages permissions on the server cannot change the setting afterward. That is false. You set permissions during publishing, the person who manages the permissions on the server might change these settings afterwards. Next question. Which all templates you can access to a selected user or group? First template is view, which allows the user's basic access to the content such as filtering a workbook or connecting to a data source. Second template is explore, which allows the user all capabilities from the view template as well as additional functionalities such as web editing a workbook or downloading a data source. Third template is publish, which allows the user the ability to override the content. This will also give them the ownership of the content. And fourth template is administrator, which allows the user the ability to manage the content such as deleting it and setting the permissions. Next question. How can you give people direct access to the data in a workbook? You can give people direct access to the data in a workbook by embedding a database user's credentials into the data sources connection. Next question. For just viewing the workbook, the user does not need to log in once direct access is given to the data workbook. That is false. Still, it needs to log in once the direct access is given to the data workbook, or need to sign in to the site on a Tableau online or a Tableau server to open the workbook. Next question. For which data types you can set authentication on data connections as part of publishing process. Connections to text files or Excel files do not require authentication.
Next question. In the manage data source, which are the available authentication types? First authentication type is to prompt user, in which users must enter their own database credentials to access the published data when the view or workbook loads. Authentication type is embedded password, in which the credentials you use to connect to data will be saved with the connection and used by everyone who access the data source or workbook you publish. Third authentication type is a server run as account, in which a single Kerberos server account will be used to authenticate the user. On Windows, this is the account that Tableau server runs, as on Linux it can be any Kerberos account. Fourth authentication type is viewer credentials, in which the viewer's credentials are passed through to the database using SSO. Fifth authentication type is to impersonate with embedded account or impersonate with server run as a service account, in which impersonation using embedded credentials connects to the embedded credentials and then switches to the views or viewer's identity. Impersonation using the run as service account is similar, but first connects to the Kerberos service account before switching to the viewer's identity. Sixth authentication type is refresh not enabled or allow refresh access. These options appear when you publish an extract of cloud data such as from Salesforce, and database credentials are needed to access the underlying data. Allow refresh access embeds the credentials in the connection so that you can set up a refresh of that extract on a regular schedule. Setting refresh not enabled prompts users when they open the workbook. All these are the data source management available authentication type. Next question. What connection type you should consider if you want to set up automatic refresh schedule? If you want to set up automatic refresh schedule, you need to embed the password in the connection. Next question. Which extracts you can publish or which extracts you cannot publish? You cannot publish the extracts if an extract is created from a Kerberos delegated row level security data source. Next question. How to make Dropbox and OneDrive connections? You can make Dropbox and OneDrive connections by embedding publish a data source or a workbook and select embedded password. Then Tableau embeds it in the data source or workbook. Next question. In what condition a user can see the information in the workbook even if they don't have view or connect permissions? While setting up workbook connections to Tableau data sources, if you select embed passwords, users can see the information in the workbook even if they don't have view or connection permission or connect permissions. Next question. What do you mean by safe list while authorizing access to cloud data published to the Tableau Online? Addition of Tableau Online to your data provider's allow list is nothing but safe list. Now, why to use this safe list? To make sure live connections you publish to Tableau Online remain uninterrupted, we need to have Tableau Online to your data provider's allow list. Next question. To facilitate connections between on-premise data and Tableau Online, Tableau Bridge uses which common ports? To facilitate connections between on-premise data and Tableau Online, Tableau Bridge uses 80, 80 and 443 ports, while 80 is the default for HTTP connections. Next question. What you use when your data source connects to data hosted behind the firewall? Bridge. Yes, when your data source connects to the data hosted behind firewall, we use bridge. Next question. When can live and extract connections run from Tableau online directly? If a data source connects to underlying data hosted in the cloud and is accessible from the public internet, then live and extract connections run from Tableau online directly. Next question. How does a Tableau bridge works? The client communicates with the Tableau online through an outbound encrypted connection to enable connectivity between data behind the firewall and your Tableau online site. Next question. Who can use the Tableau bridge? Like site admin and data source owners, any authorized user of a Tableau online can use a Tableau bridge. Next question. What is the advantage of using live connections as a bridge? For live connections, bridge is detected automatically as a part of data source publishing process. This is what advantage of using live connections as a bridge. Next question. Tableau bridge supports data authorization and refresh data you connect to through OAuth. False. Tableau bridge supports standard database authorization and cannot refresh data you connect to or it cannot refresh the data you connect to through OAuth. When you publish a data source with an extract connected to MySQL data hosted in the cloud and a live connection to on-premise SQL server database, which connection should you consider to keep the data refresh? Which connection you should consider to keep the data fresh? Use the bridge client to keep the SQL server and MySQL connections fresh. The answer is use the bridge client. Next question. When you share workbooks with others by publishing them to Tableau server or Tableau online, by default all users who have access to workbook cannot see all of the data shown in the views. That is false. They can see it by default. Next question. Tableau offers which different approaches to row level security? Create a user filter and map users to values manually. This method is convenient but high maintenance and security can be tentative. It must be done pre-workbook and you must update the filter and republish the data source as your user base changes. Or create a dynamic filter using a security field in the data. Using this method, you create a calculated field that automates the process of mapping users to data values. This method requires that the underlying data include the security information you want to use for filtering. The most common way to do this is use a reference, that is lookup entitlements or security tables that contains this information. For example, if you want to filter a view so that only supervisors can see it, the underlying data must be set up to include user names and specify the user's role. Because filtering is different at the data level and automated by the calculated field, this method is more secure than mapping users to a data values manually. Next question. What method is to be used if multiple workbooks connect to the same data? Instead of wrangling filters on each workbook, you can filter the data source and then connect the workbooks to the data source after you publish it. Next question. You cannot connect the workbooks to the data source after you publish it. That is false. Next question. Row level security with live data are faster to create and have better performance than row level security with data sources that use extract connection. That is false. Row level security with extracts are faster to create and have better performance than row level security with data sources that use live connections. Next question. What is the major limitation of row level security with extract data source? Extract data stored using multiple tables do not support extract filters and some other functionality that help reduce the amount of data in the extract. You might consider using one of the following suggestions. Connect to data using SQL, connect to the database view that already has appropriate level of filtering. Next question. What do you mean by join explosion? This is done to avoid any duplication of a data. There should be a data table and a reference table. By minimizing the table in your extract to these two only, you ensure that the only join that Tableau has to perform is between these two tables and thus avoid any duplication of the data. Next question. Up to which version of Tableau it was unable to support row level security workflows with the extracts? Extract data stored uses multiple tables. Up to Tableau 2018.3, because of complications around row duplication and performance issue, it was unable to support row level security workflows with extract. Next question. Securing data source and workbook are the same terms. False. Securing data source of a workbook are not same terms. Both needs individual settings to be done. Next question. You can connect to data and create workbooks right on the web, that is Tableau site. That is true. With certain access level permissions, one can connect to data and create workbooks via web also. Next question. A place for your team to publish data sources and workbooks to share with each other is. A Tableau site is a place where your team to publish data source and workbooks is to share with each other. Next question. From which version onwards Tableau site role, that is creator, explorer, viewer, are incorporated? From 2018.1, the roles like creator, explorer and viewer are created. Next question. On Tableau site, a creator can build and publish data sources and workbooks from the browser. That is true. Next question. On Tableau site, a viewer can download the workbooks. No, that is false. Only creators and explorers can download the workbook. Next question. For Tableau site, a viewer can explore the data in a view using filters, legends, sorting and tooltips. That is true. Next question. There is a page called a metric page on Tableau site. What information can you get from there? The current values for the metric, the time the metric last refreshed, and details about the metric. All these information can be given by the metric table or metric page on a Tableau site. Next question. On Tableau site, where you can type a question and instantly get a visualization as an answer. This facility of questioning and getting an answer from the data is provided on a data source page. Which are essentials to work with flows page from Tableau site. If you want to work with flows page, you must have the data management add-on and Tableau prep connector must be enabled. If these two conditions are satisfied, then only you can work with flows page. Next question. How is the browser URL designed on Tableau site, or what is nomenclature of the URL? The answer of this question is https://server-name:/home. In this way the Tableau sites are designed. Next question. From where you can check site role, which tells you if you are a creator, explorer or viewer. In the top right corner of the site, select My Account Settings, then select Site Role to get the information about whether you are a creator, explorer or the viewer. Next question. Starting from which version Tableau Catalog is available in the data? Starting from a version, Tableau Catalog is available in the Data Management add-on on Tableau Server and Tableau Online 2019.3. Next question. What is the use of data interpreter? Data interpreter is used for cleaning your data. Next question. From which version of Tableau a gray line separating dimensions and measures is implemented? From Tableau 2020.2, a gray line separating the measures and dimensions is implemented. Next question. What do you mean by story? A story is a sheet that contains a sequence of worksheets and dashboards that work together to convey information like data narrative, or to provide context, or to provide demonstration, or to provide decision related to outcomes and compiling case with your data. Next question. Data connections created in Tableau server or Tableau online are live and extracts only. That is false. Data connections created in Tableau server or Tableau online are live connections only, not extract one. Next question. How to publish data sources in Tableau Public? Data connections in Tableau Public are extract only and there is no way to publish the data sources. Next question. How can you keep your data fresh automatically in a Tableau desktop public edition? By selecting keep this data in sync. I repeat, by selecting keep this data in sync, we can use the data fresh, or we can keep the data fresh in Tableau Desktop Public Edition. Next question. Consider data refreshing. What is the difference between flat file versus server based data? Flat file versus server based data. If you connect to a published flat file, that is Excel or text, that data will not be refreshed even if it is modified. On the other hand, if your data is an on-premise server and published to the web through Tableau desktop, it will be rendered as an extract and won't be refreshed. If you need to keep data published to Tableau desktop fresh on the web, you can use Tableau Bridge. That is what use of Tableau Bridge is. Next question. What do you mean by metadata grid? The metadata grid button is available on a data source page and is used to see the fields in your data source as rows. This will help in understanding the structure of your data source. Next question. After the data source is published to the web, you will not be able to edit or view the data model. That is true. You will not be able to edit or view the data model once published. Next question. What do you mean by personal space? Personal space. Okay. When working in a Tableau site, personal space is a private location to save or edit. Saved items in personal space can't be shared with other users but can be moved to a project when you are ready for others to see it. It's like a folder which is accessible to you only. Next question. What are the things you can do with personal space? You can create a new workbook, save a workbook, that is separate copy, then move existing content to your own and move back to a project later. These are the uses of personal space. Next question. Content saved to your personal space is only visible to you. That is false. Content saved to your personal space is only visible to you and site administrator. Site administrators can't directly access to any user's personal space or edit content in someone else's personal space, but they can view and manage the personal space workbooks. Next question. When a workbook is in a personal space, which functions are disabled? Alerts, comments, metrics, subscriptions, share. Or alert, comment, metrics, subscription, share existing alerts and subscription to you will continue to running, but alerts and subscriptions to others will fail. Alerts and subscriptions to other will fail since the content is now private. Next question. Metrics can't be created in personal space. That is true. Metrics can't be created into the personal space but will continue to work if connected workbook is moved to there, that is personal space. Next question. New extract refreshes can't be scheduled while a workbook is in a personal space. That is true. To limit resource consumption, existing extract refreshes continues to run if they have been scheduled, but new extract refreshes can't be scheduled while a workbook is in a personal space. Next question. They can't be published directly to a personal space from a Tableau desktop. That is true. Next question. What is condition to move a workbook to a personal space? You can move an existing workbook to a personal space if you are the owner of the workbook and there is room in your personal space. Room means physical room in your personal space. Then only you can move a workbook to a personal space. Next question. Explorers can save and move workbooks to a personal space. That is false. Explorers can only save workbooks to a personal space and may not see the move action or location selection dialog box accessible to them. Next question. What is maximum file size that you can upload as a new workbook to a Tableau site? 50 MB. 50 MB is the size that you can upload as a new workbook to a Tableau site. Next question. What may happen if the project already contains a workbook with the same name? You will see a warning and you can override or update the name field to something else. Next question. Workbook level permissions and view level permissions both are same for tab based navigation. That is false. When a workbook shows sheets as a tabs, workbook level permission rules are applied to the sheets. When the sheets are not shown as tab, any changes made to the workbook permissions do not apply to the view level permissions and these must be set independently. That is why the workbook level permissions and view level permissions both are not same for tab navigation. Next question. If you want to publish specific sheets of workbook rather than all sheets, how to proceed? Use Tableau desktop since it is not possible with the Tableau online to publish specific sheets of workbook rather than all sheets. Publishing all sheets is possible with Tableau desktop. Next question. What is use of metrics? Metrics help you to track changes to your data if you have multiple dashboards. You frequently check create metrics and the number as you want to monitor. Then track them in one place by adding them to your favorites or creating them in the same project. In this way, metrics are very helpful. Next question. What do you mean by timeline matrix, single number matrix and metric with a target values? These three are different. A metric that has a date dimension as a part of its definition will have a timeline. The mark you select doesn't have a date dimension associated with your metric will be single number metric, and if a metric has a target value assigned to it, timeline matrix displays the target value as a reference line on the timeline. That is difference between these three: timeline matrix, single number matrix and matrix with a target values. Next question. How permissions work for matrix? Users with all site role can see connected matrix for review. However, the create button will appear if only you have a site role of creator or explorer. Those can publish. Next question. Once you overwrite a metric, you will need to reassign all previous permission. That is false. Once you overwrite a metric, any changes made to the permission for the previous metric will apply to the new metric also. That is why you don't need to override a metric. Next question. What are the possible reasons where you can't create a metric? There are total 5 reasons that you cannot create a metric. First, you don't have correct permission. Then, you can't access the complete data. Then the password for the workbook data source is not embedded or no longer valid. Then the data isn't the correct level of granularity. There are these 5 reasons when you cannot create a metric. Next question. Time interval for matrix to refresh for live data is 60 minutes. Remember the number 60 minutes. Previous number was 50 megabytes. That is the maximum file you can upload on a Tableau server or Tableau online as a new workbook. Next question. Time interval for matrix to refresh extract data is, it is based on extract refresh schedule. Next question. How can a user get to know about failed metric refresh, or what happens if metric refresh fails? You will receive an email notification which gives you information about the time of the failure and the affected sheets or affected metrics. Next question. What are the reasons that are responsible for matrix failure? Again, there are 5 reasons. First, the connected view was deleted or modified. Then permissions changed for the connected view. Then the password for the data source is no longer embedded or is no longer valid. Second last, the metric owner doesn't have the required site role to refresh the metric. There was a temporary connections issue which will resolve itself. Next question. How can you troubleshoot manually the problem associated with failed metric refresh? Check that the measure and the dimension that define the metric are still present in the view. There might be an issue with permission to refresh metrics. The content owner or a Tableau administrator can edit the data source connection to embed the password. What do you mean by resume refresh, and when do you need to use that one? If a refresh fails enough times, the refresh is suspended and you will receive an email notification if the refresh for your metric is suspended. If the cause of the failure is fixed, you can resume the refresh. Next question. What is difference between failed refresh and resume refresh? Resume refresh is about suspension of refreshing activity, while failed refresh is about matrix failed to connect to the fresh data. In both the cases, you can get email notification. In case of failed refresh, you will receive an email notification which notes the time of the failure and the affected matrix. And in case if a refresh fails enough time, the refresh is suspended and you will receive an email notification mentioning the refresh for your metric is suspended. Next question. What are some characteristics of Tableau catalog? It is important to check if data is intact with the view that the metrics rely on. You can use catalog in 2 ways. First, data quality warnings, and second, use lineage tool in Tableau catalog. Catalog gives full picture of the impact changes can have on the asset in your environment. Next question. How to view legend item text with more contrast? To view legend item text with more contrast, select individual legend items and then toggle highlighting on and off. Next question. What do you mean by static chart and dynamic chart, or what are some of the advantages of using Tableau over conventional chart? Some of the advantages are: presentations, emails and documents with data charts are called as static charts. The data is frozen in time. If you have any question about it, you can't find them without asking the chart creator. But Tableau is different. You often see the freshest data available. You can interact with it, want to dig deeper and answer questions they occur to you. Next question. What is difference between filter data and sort data? Filter data let you limit visible data to specific date range, regions, and sorting is looking at the table of a data and want to sort or arrange it alphabetically or numerically. There is huge difference between them. First, the filtering is nothing but limiting the visibility, while sorting is nothing but sorting it alphabetically or numerically. Next question. What do you mean by viewing underlying data? If you want to see summarized source data to get a better sense of numbers behind the visual, if the view creator has given you permission, you can click any mark in the view and then click the view data icon. Next question. Why do you want to download a view? Create a static or PNG or PDF or PPTX file that reflect the view as it looks in Tableau itself, and share that file easily with people outside an organization to whom there is no access to Tableau. In that case, you want to download a view. Next question. How many recently accessed views one can find from a navigation pane? The number is 12. 12 numbers of views one can find from navigation pane, or 12 most recent accessed views we can see. Next question. All Tableau products are separate entity. Views marked as the favorite can be seen on either online or mobile for identical login, or views marked as the favorite in Tableau online can't be seen on a Tableau mobile for a identical login. That is false. Favorite you choose in Tableau server or Tableau online also appear in a Tableau mobile app, and vice versa, giving you instant access to key data whichever or wherever you need. Next question. What do you mean by tags that you use with Tableau server and Tableau online? Tags are keywords that you add to item on Tableau server and Tableau online. Tags help users find and filter Tableau content, that is workbook, views, metrics, data source and flows. And with Tableau catalog, external assets like databases, files and tables. The purpose of tags is to help user filter content in order to find relevant items. Next question. Tagging a content is not possible from Tableau desktop or Tableau prep to a Tableau site. That is false. Authors can tag content when they publish from Tableau desktop or Tableau prep to a Tableau site. Next question. You can't tag projects or data roles. That is true. You can't tag projects or data roles or ask data lenses. Next question. Where the keywords added into item on Tableau server and Tableau online to categorize them appear. Tags appear in the details of the workbooks, metrics, data sources and flow. Clicks on a tag to see a list of all items that type with that tag. Next question. The tag filter doesn't appear if you are looking at multiple types content project. Next question. You can add a tag only if you are a owner. That is false. If you have a site role of explorer or creator, you can add tags to any items that you have permission to access. Next question. How tag information is surfaced other places? Tags are visible to others via autocomplete when users add their own tags. You can surface tag information using REST API or metadata API. Next question. When should you avoid using tags? At the time of deciding permissions, don't add tag when data is shared with other concerned people. Next question. How many ways are there to search anything on Tableau online and Tableau server? There are two ways to search anything on Tableau online or Tableau server. First is quick search and second is filtered. Quick search and filtered search. Next question. What is functional difference between quick search and filtered search? Quick search searches the entire site including content in your personal space. Filtered search find matches on the page you are viewing. Quick search searches published data source only. To search on embedded data source, use filtered search. Next question. Only quick search supports attributes and operators, not filtered search. That is false. Both quick search and filtered search supports attributes and operators. Next question. What is significance of search supporting attributes and operators? These help you set the scope of the search. For example, you can include an attribute to limit a search to just title of views, or use operators such as a not, as and not. Next question. At which all places quick search looks for matching text? Or the question is, at all places quick search searches for matching text. Item names, metadata, owners, tags, captions, comments and other information. All these places the quick search searches the matching text. Next question. In what condition you get showing partial results message when you are quick searching something on Tableau server or Tableau online? Tableau catalog users might see search results for non-embedded databases and tables before ingestion to a catalog is finished. In that case, you can see showing partial results. Next question. What is use of funnel button which is provided on a pen? To filter search, we can use funnel button. Next question. Both quick search and filter search are case sensitive. That is false. Searches are not case sensitive. Next question. What is the syntax to include the search attribute? Next question. On Tableau server before version 8.2, owners were called as publishers. On Tableau server before version 8.2, owners were called as publishers earlier. Next question. You cannot use and, or, not, and asterisk sign with search pages. That is false. You can use and, or, not, and asterisk sign with search pages. Next question. Explain use of asterisk as the search operator. This operator is useful when you don't know the exact term you are searching for. Next question. What is difference between pens and paper in search function? Pens and paper into double inverted comma searches for text pens and paper, considering and as a plain text instead of operator, while for pens and paper is considered as an operator. Whenever double quotation mark is there, anything between comma is termed as a text, and anything as and when and is used with two words, it is termed as operator. Next question. What is limitation while marking favorites? You cannot mark favorite to embedded data source and ask data lenses. Next question. What do you mean by collection? Collection let you gather related items into an easy access list. With a connection, you can organize items in a way that are meaningful to you without worrying about who owns an item or which project it is shared with others. Next question. Whatever contents shared via collection are accessible to the user with whom we share the collection. That is false. A collection user sees only the items that they have permission to access. When you give others access to a collection, there is no risk of exposing of data because collections don't affect the permissions for the item they contain. Next question. How can you organize the data you frequently use for a project in one place? By using collection, you can organize the data you frequently use for the project in one place. Not only that, but you can promote certified data and approve dashboards in your organization too with the help of collection. Next question. You need to add or move the content under your ownership if you want to add that item to your collection. That is false. The items you collect might belong to different projects. You can add them to collection without needing to move or copy them. Next question. Is it possible to recover an item which has been accidentally removed from the collection? Yes, you can simply navigate back to where it lives and re-add it. Deleting a collection or removing items from a collection won't delete the actual items because the link between the collection and the item it contains is like a shortcut. This is different from deleting a project or an item on a project where you are managing the actual items. The delete action is disabled from within a collection, so there is no risk of accidentally deleting an item while managing items in a collection. Next question. How one can manage the collection permissions? There are two ways to permit collection. One is by configuring the permissions for the collection directly or by granting access after sharing the collection. Next question. You have 10 items in your collection, but the user you shared the collection only sees 7. Why does this happen? Because the user don't have permission to access all of the items but only 7 items. Next question. Once the user is given permission to view your collection, then they can edit the contents too. That is false. Giving users the view capability will allow them to see the collection, but they won't be able to add or remove the items from the collection. By the way, there is only one capability available for collections, that is view. Next question. User gets notified every time you give or remove permission to your collection. That is false. These user won't be notified about the change in the permission. The user will come to know about the shared collection only by seeing the data appears on the collections page of that user or of the user. Next question. You want to share content with one of the user but grant access is not available. Why? There are two possibilities. One is because you previously configured permissions. Two, because their site role gives them access already. In both the cases, you want to share the contents with one of the user but grant access is not available. Next question. What do you mean by inherited descriptions? When there is no local description available, that field inherits the nearest upstream description, that is nothing but inherited description. Next question. What are some limitations of inherited descriptions? Inherited descriptions don't appear for calculated fields, aren't supported if your data source or workbook has more than 500 fields, and aren't supported if your data source or workbook is so large that the inheritance query times out. Next question. You cannot add column descriptions. That is false. You can easily add column descriptions. Next question. Where can you see the content you own? You can access or view all of the content you own by clicking your profile image or initials at the top of the page and then clicking on my content. Then you can view your content or the content you own. Next question. For the views you own, you can see which user have looked at a particular view. That is true. By selecting who has seen this view, you can easily see which user have looked at a particular view. Next question. Which among following cannot be undone, or once you delete, whether it will be enabled or permanently deleted? Once you delete following items, you cannot bring it back. These are workbooks, metrics, flows, data roles, project collections and views. Next question. Once a workbook is saved to a current version, it can be reverted back to false or old version. That is false. You can revert to a previous version at any time, provided you should have all the permissions. Next question. How can you save workbook revisions using Tableau Server and Tableau Online? Save workbook revisions by editing and saving a workbook in the web authoring interface of Tableau Server and Tableau Online. Next question. How to check revision history of a workbook or a data source? You can check a revision history of a workbook or a data source by clicking the action menu for the workbook or data source and then clicking the revision. Next question. If you made changes in workbook revisions, but if a revision can't be restored directly on the server, then how to save it? If a revision can't be stored directly on the server, download the revision, open it in a Tableau desktop and republish it. This is next question. Data source revision does not require to create the data extract for data source revisions. That is false. Data source revision required to recreate the data extracts for data source revisions. Next question. What happens when you override the existing version of workbook and save to same location? The workbook uploads the most current version. Yes, the workbook uploads the most current version or the workbook revision. Next question. Next question. What happens to version numberings if revision history is turned on and off? If revision history is turned and off, saved versions are retained and new versions override the latest version. If revision history is then turned on again, version numbering starts from the latest saved version. Next question. Why we need to use pause button? As you interact with a view, the server sometimes has to query the data source to update the view. To temporarily stop updates so that you can more quickly interact with a view, you need to pause the updates. Next question. What do you mean by a custom view? A custom view is saved version of the view with your selections and filters applied. Since views are interactive, custom views let you save your filter, sorts or selections without making changes to the underlying view. That is what custom view is. Next question. What will you do if you find yourself changing a Tableau server or Tableau online view every time you open it? You can use a custom view because you apply a filter to include only data relevant to you, or you sort data differently. You can save separate custom views for each scenario. Next question. How does dependency of a custom view and original view works? A custom view doesn't change the original view. If the original view is updated or republished, your custom view is uploaded or updated too. Likewise, if the original view is deleted from the server, your custom view is deleted. Then what happens to the subscriptions? Let's see in the next question. Next question. Deleting a custom view also deletes any subscriptions based on that custom view. That is true. Next question. How does view recommendation works? Viewing habits of the user trends in popularity of the content on your site. Based on the content you have looked at, and finally recommendations are the trending. These are the criteria for deciding view recommendations. Next question. How can you manage your credentials, email settings, and user interface options in one central place? By using My Account setting at the top of the page, click your profile image or initials and then select My Account settings. In this way, you can manage your credentials, email settings, and user interface options. Next question. There is no restrictions on numbers that you can save your credentials in Tableau. That is false. There is limited space there is a limited space for credentials. Once you run out of the space for credentials, then you need to remove some and to add some new. If you need to add some new, you need to remove the old ones. Next question. When you select clear all saved credentials, then what changes actually happens? It will remove the passwords you use to access published data sources or workbook that connect to them. Access tokens for OAuth data connections such as to Google or Salesforce.com. The extracts will also stop for refreshing. Next question. What do you understand by MFA? MFA stands for multifunctional authentication. If this option has been enabled and you have registered your verification method, you use your Tableau ID credentials and verify on verification method each time you sign in into the Tableau online. Next question. Explain significance of PATs. PAT stands for Personal Access Tokens. These are used when REST API tokens can be generated for each automation task that requires authentication. In this way, automation can be managed easily. Next question. Why one would need to copy a secret token to a file? At the time of creating personal access token, you need to copy a secret token file. The secret token is the string that you will include in your automation scripts and will be used to authenticate to Tableau server. Treat the secret token as you would a password. Protect the secret token and do not share with others. Next question. How to resolve an error that says you are already using a maximum number of connected clients? You need to delete a connected client, that is nothing but token, if you no longer use it, and add a new client. Next question. Why one can access the site directly after first successful login? The first time you sign in into Tableau server or Tableau online from a Tableau client like Tableau desktop or Tableau mobile, a secure token is created and is stored in your account. This token allows you to access the site directly without having to sign in again and again. Next question. What problem does the users of version 2020.4 or earlier may face about notifications? Since older notification settings are not automatically moved to the new notification settings, hence they will need to recreate notification setting as and when updating or upgrading from 2020.4 or earlier to a 2021.1 and later. Next question. What shall I do if I want to get notified on email only when data exists? The empty view option sends subscription email only when the data exists in a view. Next question, what exact information does this exact refresh failure email contains? It contains extract or workbook name, the last successful refresh time, the number of consecutive times the refresh has failed, and a suggested action to address the cause of the failure. Next question, what is the difference between internal user management system and local authentication? Both are same. There is no difference between internal user management system and local authentication. Just the words are different, but both are identical. Next question, what will you do if you forget your password? Go to online.tableau.com, click on forget password, then enter the email address you used to sign in to Tableau online, then follow the instructions in the email you may receive. Next question, what will you do if you are a Tableau server user and can't delete saved credentials? Check with the administrator if they have cleared the allow users to save data source action tokens in the server settings, since user can edit credentials only when an option allow users to save data source token is enabled. Next question, why do you need to test connections? This test confirms that Tableau Online or Tableau Server can access your accounts using these corresponding credentials. If the test succeeds but you cannot access your data through these managed connections, then you need to confirm that the credentials you provide for these connections can access your data. Next question, how to share modified or custom view? If you modify a view, Tableau captures these modifications by generating a unique link when you click the share button. This unique link replaces the link in the original view for all sharing and embedding options. To share a custom view that you have saved, simply open the custom view and then use any sharing options. That way, the people you share with will exactly see what you were seeing when you shared. Next question, the link generated for a modified view expires after how many days? The link generated for a modified view expires 2 years after it was last accessed, or 2 years after it was created if never accessed. Next question, to get subscription mail you need to log in Tableau server or online. That is wrong. Subscriptions email you an image or PDF snapshot of a view or a workbook at regular intervals without requiring you to sign in into Tableau server or Tableau online. Next question, what does this symbol mean? That is nothing but subscription icon. Next question, once you removed from subscription group, your permission to view also gets revoked. That is false. Users later removed from the group will not have their subscriptions removed automatically unless their permission to the subscribed view are removed. Next question, when you subscribe for mail, you can choose to have a PNG or PDF or both. That is true. When you subscribe a group, each user is added individually at the time the subscription is created. If more users are added to the group later, you must resubscribe the group for those new users to receive the subscription likewise. Next question, what is significant of send data driven alerts from Tableau Online or Tableau Server? Data driven alerts automatically send notifications to key people you specify. Data alerts can be sent as an email or as a notification. Next question, for which charts the data driven alerts does not support? Gantt chart and map chart, since numeric beans and discrete number axes are not supported, and data driven alerts can be set for views and dashboards but not for stories. That is why for stories and for Gantt and maps the data driven alerts cannot be used. Next question, how does the data driven alert works for live connections and extracts? Or at what frequency the data is checked for a live connections? For data driven alerts, when does the data driven alert checks the extracted data? Or for live data sources, alerts are checked every 60 minutes, like we have seen earlier for live connection refresh also. Some of the Tableau online or on frequency set, but administrator for Tableau server extract are checked every time they are refreshed. Next question, from which of the Tableau versions does the data driven alerts are visible to others by default? From 2019.2 version, data driven alerts are visible to others by default. Next question, consider this scenario, you don't own an alert but you want other people from your organization to follow the alert. How can you ask them to add themselves to an alert? To add recipients to an alert you don't own, you can forward an alert mail and ask people to click add me to this alert, and ask people to click add me to this alert, or ask them to select add me from the alert side panel. Next question, when does the data driven alerts fail? There are 4 cases. First, temporary connection issue. In this case the data driven alerts may fail. Second, a data source has been removed. Third, credentials to data have expired. Fourth, the workbook or a sheet that the alerts was created that has been removed. In these 4 cases data driven alerts may fail. Next question, how to fix the issue that if an alert fails due to temporary connectivity issue? In the case of failure of an alert due to temporary connection issue, the Tableau developer does not need to do anything, as an alert will fix by itself. Next question, how can you know that if the data driven alerts failed? And if an data alert fails, you will receive a notification email that tells you which alert failed and when, with a link to your site to fix the problem. Next question, how can you confirm that the data driven alerts which failed earlier has been restored? You will receive an email notification when an alert is working again, or when the problem gets solved. Next question, why you want to enable comment on view? Comments let you share a conversation about the data discoveries with other Tableau server or Tableau online users. That is why comment on views should be on if you want others to comment on your data or on your visualization. Next question, consider this scenario. First scenario is, if you want to republish the workbook but you also want to share the workbook with the comments, what precaution should one take? Or you republished the workbook but you can't see the comments. Why? Yes, this is very important to keep comments. When you republish the workbook, be sure to use the same workbook and view names. If you change the workbook and view names, then there are chances that you cannot convey or you cannot pass on the comments with your workbook or views. Next question. What do you mean by at mention or at the rate mention? If you would like to notify others about the comment, include at mention. Search shows that maximum 10 users in alphabetical order that you can have their name on it. Next question. Consider this scenario. You want to share an interactive image via comment, but snapshot icon is not. The snapshot icon doesn't appear if a view is user filtered, protecting the secure data. In that case, the snapshot icon is not active. Next question. If a comment is unnecessary or inaccurate or inappropriate, you can quickly delete it. That is true, provided you created it or it content or you are the content owner or a project leader with an appropriate site role or are an administrator, meaning administrators, content owners or project leaders or the comment writers can delete the comment. Next question. What is relation between third party cookies and embedded views? For users to successfully authenticate when they click an embedded view, their browser must be configured to allow third-party cookies. Then only the embedded view and third-party cookies will work together, or the authentication will work. Next question. When do we need to use Tableau JavaScript API? Web developers can use Tableau JavaScript objects in a web applications. At that time you need to use Tableau JavaScript API. Next question. From where can you copy embedded code and why you need it? You can copy embedded code from share button, and this code is needed for embedding views into web pages. Next question. When you want to embed a view using an iframe or image tag, you may want to do this. If you can't use JavaScript on your website, then you need to go for embed a view using an iframe or image tag. Next question. How you can specify the server name for Tableau Online in embed code? To point to the location of the JavaScript API, use the URL. Next question. How can you write your own embedded codes? By using Tableau JavaScript or specify the view URL. In this way you can write your own embedded codes. Next question. Regarding height and width, what care you need to take while embedding a view? Or what is the solution if the client browser is arbitrarily picking up any width and height for embedded view? When you embed a view, you should define a width and height that the view will display in. Otherwise, the client browser will arbitrarily pick up any width and height. Next question. What is the difference between embedded code on Tableau server and embedded code on Tableau Online using Tableau JavaScript? Special character in the host URL parameters are URL encoded, and those in the site root and name parameter are noted as HTML numeric character references. The source for the script tag is the URL for the Tableau server and Tableau Online Java file. When using specify the view URL, add the HTML attribute allow screen is equal to true to the frame element to enable the full screen button on the view. Next question. Which parameters are the required parameters for embedding view on website using Tableau JavaScript? The name and site root object parameter are the only required parameters. All other parameters are optional. Next question. Object parameters for JavaScript tags and URL parameters for iframe tags, or object parameters for iframe tags and URL parameters for JavaScript tags. Object parameters for JavaScript tags and URL parameters for iframe tags. Next question. For JavaScript tag, which object parameter need to be used to hide the data details button in the toolbar, or which object parameter needs to be used which lets user see details about the data used in that view? Data details with value number to be used which lets user to see details about the data used in that view. Next question. For JavaScript tag, which object parameter needs to be used which lets user create data driven alerts? Object parameter alerts with values no should be used to let user create data driven alerts, while for URL parameter for iframe tags use URL parameter alerts with values no. Next question. For JavaScript tag, which object parameter need to be used to let user save custom view? While for URL parameter for iframe tags use URL parameter, custom views and values no will allow user remember any choice option. Next question. If screen size parameter isn't set, Tableau server or Tableau online detects screen size and loads a corresponding layout. That is true. Next question. On a single page, a single view is allowed to embed. That is false. Multiple views can be embedded on a single view or single page. Next question. Touch optimized quick filters are not possible with object parameters with JavaScript. That is false. Keeping object parameter mobile and values as yes, optimized quick filters for mobile device can be achieved. Next question. For JavaScript tag, which object parameter need to be used to display the view as the original view? The object parameter original underscore view with values as yes, you can get a display on the view as the original view. Next question. For JavaScript tag, how to use object parameter path with values string in Tableau online? For JavaScript tag, the object parameter path with value strings can be used only with the Tableau server, not with the Tableau online. For trusted authentication only, cannot be used with the ticket parameter. Overrides value of the name parameter and is stored as the URL. Next question. For JavaScript tag, how one can control whether the share options are displayed is an embedded view. With object parameter show share option along with values true or false, one can set the control whether the share option is displayed in the embedded view or not. Next question. How to use JavaScript tag if your server is multi-site and you want to use trusted authentication? You can use JavaScript tag if your server is multi-site and you want to use trusted authentication by using object parameter site root with value string where default site value is null. Next question. What settings you need to do if you want to hide the subscription button in the toolbar for JavaScript tag for embedded view? You can hide the subscriptions button in the toolbar by keeping values as no and object parameter as subscriptions. Next question. What settings you need to do if you want to display or hide tabs for JavaScript tag for embedded view? JavaScript tag for embedded view to display or hide tabs, you can use object parameter tabs with values yes or no. Next question. What do you mean by object parameter toolbar and values yes or no? Top for JavaScript tag used for embedded view. The toolbar is displayed on the bottom by default. The toolbar is placed above the view when you set the parameter to top and exclude from the embedded view when you set it to no. Same goes with tooltip. Next question. What do you know about URL parameters for iframe tags and IDD is equal to hash? Before you add URL parameters, remove IDD hash at the end of the URL. This is temporary view counter for your current browser session. Next question. What do you understand by high DPI? This is used with URL parameters for iframe tags renders a view using standard DPI dots per inch. DPI stands for dots per inch for high resolution displays and devices. Next question. Explain following URL. No tooltips are displayed by default in a view when this parameter is not set. If set to no, tooltips are excluded from the embedded view. As word embedded use that indicates that it is the use for display embedded view of dashboards and view on website. Colon tooltip, if the colon is used, indicates that it has been used as a URL parameter for a iframe tag. Next question. If you want to buy Tableau where there is no constraint on cost, which one would you consider and why? Looking at the features offered by various Tableau products, I will go with the Tableau server. Next question. What is the difference between link target and colon link target considering embedded view? The use of both is same, that it's used for the target window name for external hyperlinks, where target is used with object parameters for Java tags is while, or colon link target is used with URL parameter for iframe tag. Next question. If a filter value contains a special character, how to embed a view? Replace the character with the URL encoding sequence for /%phi followed by the URL encoding sequence for the special character. The backslash is needed to escape the special character. For example, the URL encoding sequence for backslash comma is %phi %2c. Next question. What is default date frame fields format? If you want to filter on a date or time field which embedded views while embedding views, the default date frame field format is YYYY-MM-DD HH:/MM:SS:. Next question. What problem is associated with filtering measures while embedding view? There is no support for greater than, less than or ranges. It only supports one or two values. That is the problem associated with the filtering measures while embedding views. Next question. For Tableau server or Tableau online, what is the basic URL pattern for a Tableau view? That is given below. Next question. While adding parameters to the base URL, what does question mark, ampersand, comma functions while appending a query statements? Begin the query string with a question mark, separate the parameters with ampersand, and separate multiple views per parameter using commas. Next question. URL parameters are not case sensitive. That is false. When you append query string, be sure to precisely use the capitalization of a field names URL parameter are case sensitive. Next question. How different are the visible filters in a dashboard versus URL filters for embedded view? This is very important one. Visible parameters sometimes affect only one sheet while URL parameters apply to all sheets. Next question. How can you control the order in which multiple views load using URL parameters for iframe tags? Not possible. Controlling the order in which multiple views load can be accessed only with the embedded code that relies on a Tableau JavaScript and not possible with a URL or iframe. Next question. How does an iframe dimensions and devices layout works for a phone, tablet or desktop? It is given. Now next question. Explain doc type HTML tag. While embedding on HTML, the current display may not appear due to this command line. This command line prevents item in the Tableau of the page from sizing to 100%. In that case, you need to use this style statement. Next question. When you embed a custom view of a workbook or sheet, how the default view is determined? Custom view is displayed by default. If URL does not refer to a custom view, then default custom view is displayed by default. If no default custom view has been defined, the original view is displayed by default. If the embed code URL specifically refers to a custom view, that view is displayed by default. If the embed code URL does not refer to a custom view, the default custom view is displayed by default. If no default custom view has been defined, then the original view is displayed by default. Next question. Who can see updated image when you embed image on a Tableau server views into website? What condition the user must fulfill to see embed image of Tableau server views? The answer: users accessing the embedded image have an active web browser session with Tableau server and are automatically signed in using Active Directory. Next question. It is not possible to embed Tableau server views into SharePoint with Active Directory authentication. That is false. SharePoint is not only a tool for sharing the file or data, but it can also be used for creating website too. You need to use SharePoint version 2013 or later, and Tableau embedded view web part needs to be deployed to your SharePoint server, and user must have a Tableau server license and same username on a SharePoint. Next question. Which type of authentication your Tableau server used in previous industry? There are two types of authenticators used in Tableau server. One is Active Directory authenticator, where Tableau server is configured to use Active Directory and automatically authenticates the user. Other is local authentication, where you need to verify credentials every time for the best experience. You might want to configure Tableau and Salesforce to the SSO. Next question. What are some advantages and disadvantages of embedding views on a Salesforce? Advantages: you simply drag and drop the Tableau visualization Lightning Web component on the page and then provide a URL for the Tableau view. Embedded Tableau views from Tableau server, Tableau online or Tableau public. All versions of Tableau quickly integrate Tableau onboard into Salesforce pages. Built-in support for filtering the view. Disadvantages: the Tableau visualization Lightning Web component only supports the Salesforce Lightning experience. The Tableau visualization Lightning Web component does not support the Salesforce Classic. Context and advanced filters of the Tableau views filtering is not available for home pages or app pages. Next question. How Tableau field names and cells for object fields are correlated? When the values from these two fields match, the Tableau visualization component automatically filters the view. Next question. If you work with a website or application that doesn't support embedded interactive Tableau views, how can view then? Why one should consider using PNG PDF format? You can link PNG or PDF versions of them. Next question. What do you know about the permissions when you link to PNG, PDF versus CSV versions of the view? For links to PNG, PDF files, users need to download image or PDF permissions. For links to CSV, user needs to download full data permissions. Next question. What are different download formats available for dashboards or views in Tableau server or online? First is image, second is data cross tab, third is PDF, fourth is PowerPoint, fifth one is Tableau workbook. Next question. You are trying to download extremely large amount of data and it fails. What is the remedy? Again, this is one of the important information. Instead of downloading, try exporting the data directly from the underlying data source. Next question. Do you know one problem associated with downloading the workbook in a PDF format? Yes. Web page items of the workbook are skipped. Next question. Do you know one problem associated with downloading the workbook in a PDF format? Yes. Web page items of the workbook are skipped. Next question. How you decide whether to download a workbook or view as a PDF or as a PNG? And the answer, each of the formats have its specific use and the decision is taken based on the following. PDF for interactive views, PDF for retaining quality of the view, and PNG for size constraint, and PNG for small size images, and PDF is for printing purposes. Next question. What do you know about Tableau Slack? Tableau Slack lets you see snapshot of visualization with links. Tableau 2021.3 and later for data driven alerts, Tableau 2021.3 and later sharing activity, Tableau 2021.3 and later comment mentions a visual snapshot. Next question. Keyboard shortcuts for server, online and Tableau desktop are same. That is false. Keyboard shortcuts for desktop are different than server and online. Next question. If I am using an Internet Explorer as a browser, how many number of rows I can see on a data source with? The answer is 10,000 rows. With others, you can see 1 lakh rows. And if you are considering rows and columns multiplication, then 3 million for others. Next question. Can I create a transparent worksheet background? Yes. Set background color to none. You can create a transparent worksheet background. Next question. How to avoid data shared with a Tableau software? Opt out of sharing usage data by turning off usage reporting in the Tableau desktop and Tableau prep. Next question. What happens to old bookmarks, workbooks and data sources when you update your version, Tableau version? When you upgrade Tableau from previous versions, your repository is also upgraded and or updated, and all bookmarks, workbooks and data sources are there. Next question. How can you make your beta workbooks accessible in Tableau 2021.3? Copy the workbooks from beta repository to a new 2021.3 repository. Next question. Why one needs to upgrade Tableau versions? No software is fully updated for lifetime in a single go. The software needs to be used by multiple people, and accordingly changes for betterments needs to be done. To have the most up-to-date features, security resolutions or corrected issues, you must update the Tableau versions. Next question. The update downloads and installs immediately. That is false. The update downloads immediately, but it get installed next time when you reopen the Tableau software. Next question. Why it is so happen that product updates are there but you are not notified? If your product maintenance has expired, then you will not get notifications. Next question. What do you mean by zero downtime licensing? When internet connected Tableau desktop and Tableau Prep Builder, users may not have to manually refresh product key, and it silently refreshes an active product key, then nothing, that is nothing but zero downtime licensing. Means they do not need to manually refresh it or manually maintain it. Next question: how can you navigate to the start page of a Tableau dashboard? Tableau icon is the place to navigate to the start page of a Tableau dashboard. Next question: a packaged workbook can created by using Tableau Reader, that is false. Can be created in either Tableau desktop or Tableau server. These files contain both the workbook as well as copies of the reference of the local files or data sources and background images, which is not possible with the Tableau Reader. Next question: user cannot use filters while in Tableau Reader. That is false. User can use filter to modify the visualization with Tableau Reader also. Next question: one can easily switch between data sources in Tableau Reader. No, it is not possible to change the data source in Tableau Reader once it has been set by a Tableau desktop. Next question: which option to be used to show all sheets in a workbook as thumbnail image in a single pane? The sheet sorter view shows all the sheets in a workbook as a thumbnail images in a single pane. To open the sheet sorter, click the button on the bottom right of the reader view or reader window. Select the thumbnail image to open the sheet that you want to view. Next question: a person don't have data or a data source and Tableau desktop but still wants to interact with the dashboard. How can she does that? With the help of Tableau Reader. With the help of Tableau Reader, you can open and interact with a packaged workbook also. Next question: one can present views as a slideshow using Tableau Reader. That is true. Next question: one cannot publish views as a PDF using Tableau Reader. That is false. One can easily publish views as a PDF using Tableau Reader. Next question: define dashboards in a single statement. A dashboard is a view that combines several worksheets in a single page, or a collection of views shows in a single location where you can compare and monitor a variety of data simultaneously. Next question: for Tableau Reader to view all the sheets or dashboards in a workbook at a one time, use the film strip or sheet sorter view navigation, Tableau Prep, Tableau Forecast and Tableau Prep. The film strip view shows each sheet as a thumbnail image at the bottom of the workbook. Using which option you can start or stop automatic updates of the view? By using pause auto updates. When this feature is enabled, Tableau automatically updates the worksheets or database based on changes that you make with the filters. If you do not want to automatically update the views, you can click this button to disable the feature. Next question: one can use which of the following option to manually update and refresh the views to most current setting? Windows, tabs, pause auto updates or run update. Next question: using which action you can switch between a locked axis that only shows a specific range of value and a dynamic axis that shows a range of the values based on the minimum and maximum values in a single view? Open axis, close axis, fixed axis and variable axis. Next question: to show the view only and hide the toolbar and menu, which option is used? Tableau mode, presentation mode, viewport add-ons. Press escape or click on presentation button in the lower right corner. The screen returns the standard view mode. Next question: another name for a text table or a table of numbers is crosstab. Next question: suggest a single word. A visual representation of one or more rows in a data source, that is mark, can be bar, line, square or so on, but the visualization or a visual representation of one or more rows in from a data source is a mark. Next question, define repository. A folder located in my documents folder that stores the workbook is nothing but a repository. Next question, a default location that stores workbook is a folder located in a my document folder. That is the default location. Next question, the visualization representation of your data in a worksheet or a workbook or dashboard is called as view. The visual representation of your data in a worksheet or a dashboard is called as view. Next question, explain relationship between the workbooks, worksheets and dashboards. Workbook is a collection of one or more dashboards and worksheets. Next question, in Tableau Reader each worksheet can be connected to a single data source. That is true. Next question, in a Tableau Reader you can open packaged workbooks that were created using Tableau Desktop, Tableau Public. That is false. In Tableau Reader you can open packaged workbooks that were created using Tableau Desktop or Tableau Server. Next question, in Tableau Reader you can open packaged workbook that were created using Tableau Desktop or Tableau Public. That is false. Tableau Reader you can open packaged workbooks that were created using Tableau Desktop or Tableau Server. Next question, file extension for packaged workbook is .twbx or .dwtx or .dbms or .bxtw. Contain the workbook along with a copy, any local file, data structure, data background, images. Next question, list down local file data sources for Tableau Reader. Local file data sources for Tableau Reader are Excel, Access, data extracts and text files. Next question, the workbook always linked to the original data source and images. That is false. The workbook is no longer linked to the original data sources and images, since once packaged workbook is formed then no updated data changes get reflected. Next question, you have to have Adobe Acrobat installed on your computer to generate PDF of workbook of sheet. That is false. You can easily generate PDF with Reader itself. There are three options. First, entire workbook publishes all the sheets in the workbook, or active sheet publishes only the current sheet, or selected sheets publishes the selected sheets. In this way you don't need to have Adobe Acrobat Reader to generate PDFs. Next question, you have to have Adobe installed on your computer to view PDF file after printing of workbook or sheet. That is true. If you want to automatically open the PDF when you are done printing, this option is only available if you have Adobe Acrobat Reader or any kind of reader installed on your computer. Next question, by default Tableau Reader converts worksheet into A4 size. That is false. If you select unspecified, the paper size will be as large as necessary to show the entire view on a single page. Next question, how to include selected marks and highlighting in the PDF generated by the Tableau Reader. By using show selection option, one can include selected marks and highlighting in a PDF generated by Tableau Reader. Next question, one cannot set the page setup for each sheet in the workbook before publishing the PDF. That is false. One can easily specify the page setup for each sheet in the workbook before publishing to PDF. Next question, exporting data or views to other application for presentation and documents can only be done through Tableau Desktop or Tableau Server. That is false. Exporting data or views to other applications for presentation and documents can easily be done with the help of Tableau Reader also. Next question, how can you use the data into MS Excel via Tableau Reader? Or how Microsoft Excel and Tableau Reader are correlated? The answer is you can copy the data as a crosstab for the use in a Microsoft Excel just by selecting copy and then selecting crosstab on the context menu. Next question. It is not possible to include or exclude color and size legends while saving worksheet as an image. False. In the copy image dialog box, select the contents you want to include and the legends layout if the view contains a legend. Next question. It is up to workbook's author to let user interact with the use or with the views. True. A workbook's author might have added feature to the workbook that lets you interact with the use. Next question. What is scope of Tableau Reader to interact with the views? Or what are all options available in a Tableau Reader to interact with the use? Filter, sort, action, page, playback and legends are the options available in the Tableau Reader to interact with the views. Next question. What is revert to saved feature of Tableau Reader? You may want to undo all the changes you have made to a Tableau workbook and just start back at how it was when you opened it. Rather than clicking through the history using undo button, you can directly revert to the workbook to its saved state. That is nothing but revert to saved. Next question. If the workbook connects to a Microsoft Office 2007 data source, that is Excel or Access, you need also to have Microsoft Office 2007 installed on your computer. That is true. You can also ask the author of the workbook to save the data source to a version that is compatible with your software, or you have to have Microsoft Office installed on your computer if your workbook connects to a Microsoft Office 2007 data source. Next question. Which terminology is used to visualize data virtually from anywhere? That is Tableau Connector. The name of the technology is Tableau Connector. Tableau has great connectivity that allows you to visualize data from virtually anywhere. Tableau includes dozens of connectors already and also gives you the tools to build a new connector with the Tableau Connector SDK. Next question. Your data source does not fit the relational ODBC or JDBC model, but you can still use Tableau Connector SDK. That is false. If your data source does not fit the relational ODBC or JDBC model, then you have to work with web data connectors, not SDKs. Next question. A TACO file is saved into my repository connectors folder. That is true. A TACO file is packaged Tableau connector file that can be placed in your my Tableau repository /connectors folders. From there, Tableau automatically loads all connectors it finds.